Hello everyone, this is Shaina Noor Ahmed. So a lot of you were requesting for videos that dealt with answer writing tips for English language and literature. Now I have decided to make two separate videos for English language and literature. This one deals with the literature part. So in the literature paper, you need to make sure that you give an introduction of the author and try to pick up points from the author's life that actually resonate with the work that they have created. So I talked about this while talking about Matthew Arnold. So, he lived in a time when religion was being attacked from all sides, okay? And this is why he decided to write a work like the Dover Beach, right? So, such sort of important details should always be mentioned. They should always be, written in the answer, because it doesn't matter if your question is for 4 marks, 8 marks or 20 marks, but it is always a good idea to talk about the author because that enhances the quality of your answers. Okay, next up, you should always mention a little bit about the text. Okay, and to tackle this, you can see if you're asked about the plot structure of The Tempest. So while writing an introduction for this answer, try to mention that The Tempest is a text that tries to maintain the unities of time, place and action. But in case of the unity of action, we see that there is a deviation in the play. Okay, so there are subplots in the play, but the unity of action should not allow this. It does not allow this. But even then, there are subplots in the play, and the purpose that these subplots serve is that they enhance the quality of the plot. Okay, so this is something that should be kept in mind. Okay, this is the question. If you're asked about the plots, you are supposed to provide such sort of introduction and then go on elaborating that these are the 3 subplots. You start off with the fact that the first subplot that we encounter is this one, the second that we encounter is this one, and the third that we encounter is this one. So I just look up the 3 subplots. The first one is, I think, the execution of the king of the planned assassination, the plan of assassinating the king of Naples. The second one is the plan of assassinating Prospero, and the third one is, I think, the love story of Ferdinand and Miranda, right? So you go on elaborating in 3 different paragraphs about those, that how these actually serve the Tempest. How do they do that? They add a depth. Okay, if Caliban's plot was not there, we could not have explored the fact that how colonialism is highlighted in The Tempest. We wouldn't have been able to see that if that subplot was not introduced. And in case of Ferdinand and Miranda, the larger reconciliation, or I should say a very diplomatic sort of revenge, wouldn't have come about if this love story did not work out. Okay, and the third thing is that that assassination attempt. So it always shows that even if you're wicked, if you chalk out things with a wicked person, then there is a chance that they may betray you later. So such depth is added to the play because of these 3 subplots, and this is how you conclude the answer, that without these subplots there wouldn't have been such interesting themes, and ultimately they are all adding to the plot, so they are very much well required. Okay, so do that. So there is a general tip that I like to give to you. While you are preparing for English literature, make sure that you go to the back pages of the textbook. There is a list of questions, okay, both structured and long answers. Just read all of those questions. Okay, you will get an idea of the kind of questions that are asked in the exams. Okay, now you go back and read Act 4 and 5. So what happens is that your brain will somehow tell you that this point I can include in this answer, this point I can elaborate in this question, and while doing that you'll also realize that okay, this is the quotation that I think I can remember, this is the quotation that I think I should add. So do that. Also, you have done The Tempest Act 1, 2 and 3, Acts 1, 2 and 3 in the first sem. Try and give examples from there too. See, if you're asked about the character sketch of Miranda, then you do one thing, you add some points from the first 3 acts also, because what's the harm in doing that? It is good if you give the reference. If you go out of the way to give that reference, it is like a perfectly nice idea. Even if the question is like, elaborate on the character sketch of character of Miranda in acts 4 and 5, whatever, even then you should give a background. You should at least write that she is Prospero's daughter, and how she came to the island, how have we seen her before, how do we see her in act 4 and 5. This should always be done. So make sure that you add some points from there, okay? How to make the character sketch? If you haven't, don't fret. I'll just tell you. See, the good way to do that, while reading the text, besides certain dialogues, you add the words that are like elaborated, you add the qualities that are shown by that particular dialogue, okay? Like for example, in Prospero's monologue, we tend to see a slightly dark side of his personality, okay? So what you see in there is that even he has been a little cruel with his magic. He has like made lightnings fall on oak trees and whatnot, and he has uprooted trees. So he has done that too. Like Sycorax, he has also misused his magic in certain ways. And you should like mark that okay, there must have been a time when he wasn't like the sweetest of all magicians, okay? So you add such qualities. And in fact, even towards the end, even though Prospero does not expose Antonio and Sebastian, but maybe he can expose them while whenever he reaches Naples, or whenever something goes wrong, he can do that. And besides, he is now controlling them in a way because his daughter is now the queen. So you never know, there is always this dark side in this character of Prospero. So you can mention that in brackets just beside the dialogue. Do this for the characters of Ferdinand, Miranda, Prospero, Caliban also, Ariel as well, okay? And then you just add, if you want to, you can just, make certain notes that, okay, this dialogue, this, it elaborates this elaborates this. Just make 5-6 points for character sketch, okay? In this way, do it. Try to like add as many points as you can from the entire play, because do justice to the character sketch, okay? This is how you get marks in literature. Do justice to the character. If you get a character sketch, or do justice to the question by elaborating on as many aspects of that related to that question that you see in the entire text. This is how you get marks in literature. Do that. Also, another thing is that when you come to the stories, for the stories, please be very particular about any specific device that is used, a literary device that is, and the themes and the character sketch. So before you revise the stories, just make sure that you read the workbook part for one particular story first, and then you go to that story, and then you again highlight that, okay, this point I can add, this quotation I can add. Do it separately for all the 3 stories. And then finally, coming to the poetry section, I am the kind of person who attempted 2 poems and 1 prose and 1 question from the Tempest. This used to be my general pattern because I'm comfortable with poetry. But if I was comfortable with something that was from the Tempest or anything like that, so I would like switch this. Maybe I'll attempt 2 from Tempest, 1 from prose, 1 from poetry, in case I knew the answers well. At times I have also, I think in my pre-boards last year, I attempted 2 from Tempest, 2 from poetry and 1 from prose because I knew 5 answers. So that was the stuff that I did. But see, it's not important that you go out of your way to attempt an extra question or something. Choose the 4 questions that you know that you can do well. You can take 2 from prose, choose, I had to attempt 4 questions. What is your pattern you see? Attempt the questions that you are comfortable with, that you know that you can do it, okay? Choose such questions and devote all your time to writing those, okay? And make sure that you revise. Revising is very important. Try to add at least 2 quotations. If you can't do 2, at least do 1. At least 1, okay? Make sure that you highlight the important points of your answers, because it's all about presentation, it's all about organization, alright? So with that, I sum this up. All the best.